Find other great podcasts like this one at podmoth.network.
Testing. Please do not be alarmed. We are broadcasting on a lost signal. Please do not attempt to adjust the dial until after the broadcast is ended. Tonight's episode guest stars Jamie Fitchner as Rita Corbin, Darcy, and Connor. Supporting characters are played by Tilsen Mulalley. Tonight's story was written by Tilsen Mulalley. Case file 3561. She calls from the static.
Report date, December 20th, 1992. The plane touched down late in Chicago, and the drive out to the suburb of Woodsboro took another 45 minutes. Quaint little place. The local law enforcement doesn't deal with this kind of thing, and the whole bare-bones force out here is spooked except for the police chief. Did a background on him. Used to be a beat cop in Chicago.
You might want to brace yourself. Refuse to wash off. Bit of a smell.
Subject of investigation is David, age 40. Insurance salesman, widower, single father. Suburban home in middle America. No drinking, no abuse. 5 years ago, Mr. Tilsen's wife disappears, leaving him the sole provider to their then 4-year-old son, Connor. Despite his initial status as a prime suspect, Mr. Tilsen was quickly cleared of any wrongdoing by authorities and began to rebuild his life with his child. His wife, Elizabeth, has never been found. Now, David's son has disappeared as well. My gut flipped when the smell hit my nostrils. His eyes were glued to the table he was seated at, and he swayed gently. A layer of gore coated him like mottled, chunky paint. His hands were cuffed to a steel ring bolted into a table. I took a seat across from him. Mr. I'm Agent Rita Corbin. I've come to ask you some questions.
I don't know where my son is.
Tell me about the static, David.
Excuse me?
Tell me what happened when you put Connor in the static, David.
I didn't kill my son.
I know you didn't.
I gave him back to her.
Why?
Connor hasn't been sleeping since Liz disappeared. Insomnia or something from the trauma, I don't know. I wasn't always the best at that. Fears and feelings and all that stuff. That was always Liz's department. Then one night we were driving through some dead air on the way back from a trip to my parents. Couldn't get a single thing on the radio, just static. Just plain irritating until I looked in the mirror and saw Connor nodding off. He was fast asleep in 10 minutes and stayed that way until the signal came back. So I got him a little tabletop radio set for his bedroom. It was an overnight change. Connor felt better, rested, started to smile again like a kid should, not look so damn sad all the time. I felt like a good dad for the first time in a long while. Alrighty, champ. Get under the covers. Now, which story are we thinking tonight, huh? I was thinking we could do another chapter of Wizard of Oz.
Nah, I'm done with that.
What do you mean you're done with it? We're not even halfway through. Don't you want to see if she gets back to Kansas?
No, Dad, I mean I'm done with it. To the end.
Since when? We started it 2 days ago. Have you been reading it at school or something?
No, Mom read it to me.
What do you mean, buddy?
I mean, I've been reading it, Dad.
By yourself?
Myself.
Son, it's okay if you talk to Mom. Read with her and stuff like that. She can hear you. You don't have to hide that, okay?
Okay, Dad. Sorry.
Don't be sorry, Connor. Here, did you and your mom read Tex the Cattle Dog yet?
No.
I didn't think much of it. He was a kid, he was grieving, whatever. I still talk to her sometimes, too. She kept her craft room down in the basement. I'd go down there and talk with Liz sometimes, late at night. About Connor, life. It felt good to feel close to her, you know? Sometimes I'd catch Connor down there, sleeping on the floor in a mess of blankets and a book, his little radio crackling away next to him. Sometimes I'd check the book if it was one we'd started, and he'd be chapters ahead of where we'd left off. I mean, I didn't know he was on that reading level yet, but hey, kids learn fast these days. Him reading to his mom, it was endearing. Besides, I wasn't going to trip over my kid's reading comprehension improving. What? Connor? Why's the radio so loud? I'd stumbled halfway to Connor's room before I realized I was heading away from the static. As my eyes adjusted to the dark, I looked toward the stairwell. It suddenly clicked that Connor must be down in the craft room. His radio was so loud I could hardly hear myself think, and it only got louder as I headed downstairs. I didn't think it could even get that loud. It was small and ran on AA batteries. It only had a singular, honestly cheap-sounding speaker. I was so concentrated on the static that I didn't notice the pulsing blue glow permeating the hallway which housed the basement door until I was directly in front of it. The sound seemed to change too. The static was still there, but there was something inside of it. I thought that maybe in the night the blank station I'd set up for Connor had managed to pick up some kind of faraway broadcast. As I touched the doorknob, though, the sound suddenly cut and the glow receded. I opened the door and the stairwell leading down into the basement was dark. The radio was on somewhere below me, but playing at the low volume. I took the stairs carefully, cringing at every creak. At the base of the stairs, I realized that the room wasn't completely dark. Connor had plugged his nightlight into the outlet in the far corner. It was blue, but not the same shade of blue as the almost icy electronic blue I'd seen at the top of the stairs. I thought I'd just dreamt it all. I'd been working pretty long hours, and lack of sleep was something I'd gotten well acquainted with in the last few months. But a week later, it happened again. And then a few days after that. Then it was almost nightly that I'd wake up to incredibly loud, squelching static. Before, Connor would only sneak down to the basement every once in a while. Lately, it had been every single night. I tried to haul him back to bed a couple of times, but he'd just wail and shriek so loud that I thought the neighbors would... I begged him to at least keep the radio down low when he went to sleep, but he didn't seem to know what I was talking about.
I always keep it low, Dad.
He was sincere, too. I could tell. I was his dad, after all. I thought I was going insane. I swear I began to hear something underneath the squelching, painful white noise. It always seemed just a touch too quiet. As if I could just strain my ears a little harder, I could make out something that sounded like a voice. I thought maybe it was some kind of signal just strong enough to give the impression that it was there. I tried different bands, different spots on the dial of the little radio, but it made no difference. Every night, it woke me up. But it would always cut out just as I reached the door. And Connor would always be asleep. He never had any idea what I was talking about, even when I woke him up. I thought maybe the kid was pranking me, but he seemed genuinely confused. And then came the night I had to stay late at work, catching up on meetings. My niece, Darcy, was able to fill in last minute as a babysitter.
Welcome to The Ugly Radio on the Podmoth Network, a lo-fi sci-fi audio theater anthology series made for late nights and strong drinks. Join us monthly as we broadcast a pirate signal across time and space, featuring stories, songs, and frequencies from a rotating list of voice actors, writers, storytellers, and musicians. If you're looking for high-quality science fiction, skin-crawling horror, and other genre fiction, listen to The Ugly Radio on the Podmoth Network, now available wherever you get your podcasts. The Ugly Radio. See you in the void.
I could hear it from the front door. I could hear that gibberish behind it. Almost make it out. The basement had a window to the left of the front door, and it was soaked in the electric blue glow. I rushed into the house so quickly that Darcy jumped from her spot on the couch when I burst in.
Uncle David?
Couldn't she hear it? She'd just been sitting there, absorbed in the TV like everything was perfectly fine. Darcy! What's that noise? Where's Connor?
What noise? He's down in the basement.
Why is he down there?
He said you let him sleep down there. Why are you yelling?
Connor! The whole hallway glowed. The basement door was cracked and I could hear Connor laughing. He sounded far away, further than a few stairs. It was as though the thick electric light was muffling him. It seemed to be creeping up the hallway toward the rest of the house, and when I ran through its boundary toward the door, I heard a distinct zap and crackle like a moth burning to death on a bug lamp. Connor?
Dad, listen! Mom's on the radio!
I couldn't see anything. The light was blinding. It seemed a fountain from the middle of the room, and I thought I could see the shape of his radio in the center of the bright spiral rug on the floor. The static was deafening, but the noise behind it, the noise that had been getting steadily louder as the weeks passed by, it was front and center now. The second my hand closed around the little radio, I finagled myself up to a sitting position and threw it with all my might. The impact and the sound of the shattering plastic told me my aim had been true. The light and the static died at the same time, almost immediately. I blinked a few times, my vision slowly filtering in out of the blue haze that had singed my pupils. Connor was in a nest of his blankets he'd dragged off of his bed, staring at me. He looked confused, maybe even unhappy.
Why did you break it? Mom was talking to me.
I was at a loss for words. I just stared at him. At last I was able to form a shaky sentence. That's not Mom on the radio, buddy.
Yes, she is. She said so.
Connor?
She told me you'd try to turn her off. She said you're a bad dad. You want to keep me away from her.
I snapped. I crossed the room in 3 steps, grabbing my son by the arm harder than I meant to.
Ah!
Listen to me, Connor. That is not your mother. Your mother is dead. Dead, Connor. Do you know what that means? That means she can't talk anymore. Not to you, or me, or anyone else. She is gone, Connor. His tears snapped me out of my fit, and I buried his face into my chest, soaking up each racking sob from his little body. I looked up and I saw Darcy watching me from the door at the top of the stairs. She looked tiny and terrified. Gently I detached from the quieting Connor, whom I picked up and laid in his blankets with a promise to be back. Then I took the pieces of the radio from the floor and led Darcy out, shutting the door behind me.
Uncle David!
Shh!
Why did you...
Did you see the blue light?
What?
The blue light? Or the static, did you hear it?
Static?
She looked terrified and confused in equal measure. I realized that my hunch was correct. She hadn't seen any of it. I reached for my wallet and pulled out 5 20s, which I handed to her.
Uncle David...
Thank you for babysitting, Darce. Get home safe.
Yeah.
She left. Hopefully the extra money would keep her from telling her parents how weird a turn the night had taken. I looked at the pieces of the radio in my hands. The casing had exploded, leaving a tangled mess of wires and circuitry amongst shards of cheap gray plastic. Great. I threw away the remains of the radio. There was no fixing it. Instead, I went up to my room, unplugged my alarm clock radio, and returned to the basement where Connor awaited me, perched in his blankets. Hey, buddy. Dad's gonna let you borrow his radio tonight. Tomorrow, we'll go pick you out a new one. That sound good?
Mm-hmm.
I sat with him for a long while, drying his tears and reading him chapters of text up until he finally fell asleep. I stayed for another hour. After that, I just listened to the static, listening for something beneath it. There was nothing. Eventually, I returned quietly to my own room. heard it in my dream before it woke me up. The static reached down through my unconscious and violently jerked me from sleep. Who's there? The air was blue. The atmosphere was warm on my skin, and it crackled with electricity. The cracks of my door overflowed with thick light. It had mass, almost seeping into my room, and as I watched it congealed, forming a pulsing blue limb which reached out to me from across the room, creeping closer and closer. Go away. You can't have him. You're not her. You're not Elizabeth. The arm of light was creeping toward me. Its long fingers were splayed out, ready to grab. I tried to move, and I found I couldn't. Tried to scream, and found my vocal cords felt as though they'd been cut away. The hand reached my face and hovered as I stared up in silent horror.
Keep me from my son, the raven.
It touched down and gripped my head, and I was blinded with blue. It was like it had injected a movie directly into my brain, starring me and Liz. Our entire life, right before my eyes. Right to the bloody end. Please. It was an accident. I'm sorry.
I got out so quickly.
The gun, it went off by accident. You know that.
You call no one. Watch me die.
I panicked, Liz.
You murdered me and buried me below the cracked room. Even I hear your whimpers in the night when you come to talk to me. Your apologies and remorse.
I'm so remorseful, Liz.
You are not capable of it. Believe me.
I am remorseful. I am, damn it. I'll do anything to prove it.
Give him to me and we can begin again, David. Come to me while the portal is open.
I sprung to my feet without meaning to, sprinting for the door and into the hall before I even realized what I was doing. And it didn't matter, because I had a sudden, warm feeling that she was telling me the truth. She forgave me for the accident. She forgave me for killing her. The basement pulsed with light that sprung from a whirling pool of static that sprang from the center of the basement. I could see my radio under the cloudy surface, no more than a silhouette deep below. Connor slept next to the pool, his fingers dangling just under the surface. I rounded the pool to him, shaking him gently.
Dad?
Hey, bud. Listen. Mom's on the radio.
Really?
Yeah.
She says she wants you to come visit her. She's here to pick you up.
Really?
Uh-huh. Let's go. I gathered him up in my arms. We stood on the edge of the pool. Liz spoke again, and there was excitement in her voice.
My boy. Come to me, Connor.
Tentacles of light rose from the pool and reached for Connor. I let them take him. They held his arms gently, and he began to float away from me. The tentacles pulled him toward the center of the pool, toward where he'd be just above the radio. He looked almost angelic, smiling in wonder and amazement at what was happening. The tentacles began to descend back toward the static. Connor didn't seem to mind. He was smiling so wide. Liz? Suddenly, the tentacles stopped, holding Connor aloft in one place.
Ready to join Mother?
Bye, Dad.
He waved at me. I waved back, tears in my eyes. We were going to be a family again. Liz? Liz, how does this... The tentacles jerked him below the surface so fast. I'm not sure what happened. 1 second, Connor was there. And the next he wasn't. Blood and chunks exploded from the static where he'd gone under, coating the room and me. The static cut as though the radio had been unplugged, and the light died, leaving only the pale glow of Connor's nightlight, even dimmer due to the layer of gore that covered the bulb. I could hear the blood dripping from every surface in the basement. Somebody called the cops. Probably heard me screaming. I was still screaming when they kicked down my door and dragged me out of the basement.
Thank you, David. I appreciate your cooperation.
Then can you do me a favor?
No promises.
Can you get me a radio? I've got to listen in for her. Find her again. I've got to find them again.
I'll see what I can do. David admitted to killing his wife and claims he buried her in his basement. Excavation of the basement reveals that the ground had indeed been disturbed. However, no human remains have been found. Mr. maintains that he did not murder his son. Mr. remains imprisoned. He fiddles with his radios in his cell and nothing else.
Thank you for joining us tonight, dear listeners. If you liked what you heard tonight, please leave a review wherever you're listening, and if you really liked it, please consider joining our Patreon. This concludes our broadcast day.